right, full power 158 grain 357 Magnum. This is going to be a ballistic test, and this box of ammunition was provided by my Patreon, Alexi, so thank you so much for that. It's been something I've been wanting to test for a really long time. 158 grain, it's rated at 1475 feet per second. That is pretty much the quintessential bullet weight for 357 Magnum. It's hard to argue that that's not the perfect bullet weight. So because 357 Magnum has so much quote-unquote stopping power, I thought, why don't I compare it to something else that has its own street credibility of pretty good stopping power. I know a lot of people don't like that term, but that's just the term I use for bullet effectiveness. And what we have here is our Buffalo Bore 40 Smith & Wesson, and it is a +P. So this Buffalo Bore is 158 grain. This one is actually 155 grain. So we're almost exactly the same weight. So that gives us a pretty good idea, or an easy way to follow these velocity numbers. Now, 40 +P is beyond SAAMI specifications. It is overpressured. So with this round, you do not want to fire it in any gun that does not have a fully supported chamber the way that this Smith & Wesson M&P does. Most of your older Glocks, if not all of your new Glocks, I'm not sure on that, don't have a fully supported chamber. So if you're shooting it through a Glock, you need to get a conversion barrel. So these are both some pretty hot rounds, just rated at 1300 feet per second. So that's a pretty good rating, you know, 582 foot-pounds. And being a full-length barrel, we should get that. So I'm going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy I get at the same time. I am going to do my clear ballistics test, where I have about 3 inches of clear ballistics. And it doesn't show 3 here, but that's because it's kind of squished back and compressed a little bit. And then we have 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard to represent ribs or sternum, and then more clear ballistics. Typically this takes away about 2 inches of this. Not always, but typically. And then a lot of people love the Juggernaut box. So I thought for a test like this, let's just bring it back. And I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to use 3 inches like I am here before I hit the medium density fiberboard instead of a baloney pack. Just because baloney packs are kind of hard to source sometimes. And I think this works just as well. And to water jugs to see what kind of just splash and damage and penetration and all that we get. And then I'm going to shoot from, I think I'll do 50 yards today from my full-size steel silhouette right there, just to kind of see what these guns might be capable of. So let's get started with the test. All right, first up, I have the 40 Smith & Wesson. It is rated at 1300 feet per second. Let's see how close we get to 1300 feet per second out of this 5-inch Smith & Wesson M&P pistol. $13.25. First malfunction I ever had with this pistol, $13.21. It just didn't want to feed. This round is a little hot. It just stuck back just a little bit. $12.94. $13.21. $13.01, and that is a loud round because even with this, I can hear it right through it, like it's almost like I'm not wearing something. That is loud. Let's see how that 357 compares. By the way, I didn't mention it, both these are XTP bullets. Here's our 357 Magnum, rated at 1475 feet per second. That's a pretty hot rating. Let's see what we get. $14.70. $14.33. $14.49. $14.36. $13.82. So we are definitely below rated velocity. A lot of flash. I mean, I saw it coming out this far on both sides of the cylinder gap. So that's something you wouldn't want to shoot like this. That's for darn sure. All right, let's hit our ballistics gel block and see what these two will do. All right, first up, let's try our 40 Smith & Wesson. See what it does through our medium density fiberboard. That round feels really tame compared to that 357. definitely seeing some expansion as it hits this fiberboard, which for an XTP is pretty impressive. All right, so what we're looking at is our damage path is at about 15.5, which would be about 17.5 if that medium density fiberboard was not there. So let's take the medium density fiberboard out and see if it has that average effect on it and see how it does without the medium density fiberboard. All right, theoretically we should get around 17.5, but we might not. Let's just see what we get though. All right, so what we got is definitely a lot different here. We're at 21.25. So there's definitely more penetration without that medium density fiberboard, and that probably means that this expanded less than with the medium density fiberboard. So this is going to represent like our ribs or sternum shot, and this is like our gut shot. So that makes sense. So let's try the 357. All right, 357 mag through our medium density fiberboard. See how it does. That's different. That was a lot different. Before I take a look at this, this appears to be the one that I just had. Almost exactly the same as the 40 as far as the size of hole. In fact, I'm not even sure which is which. All right, so everything back up there. I can see some denim actually still on the bullet there, which is not typical for hitting fiberboard. And that is just a massive amount of damage. Not that the 40 isn't, but this one's closer. We can really take a good look at it. And we're at about 16 even. So that would be 18 even without the MDF. But it might not expand as much. However, this is a pretty powerful round. My money is it will be on that without the fiberboard. So let's pull the fiberboard out and see how close we get. All right, with no medium density fiberboard, let's see what that looks like. All right, so totally different. Oh wow, wow. You know what? That's not a valid shot. It looks as if I hit this piece of metal here that holds my denim and stuff, and that's probably why it's all fragmented up. So I'm gonna try to go right here if I can without hitting a piece of metal and see how that does. All right, let me try to make a better shot on this one and see how this does. See if we get to that 18-inch mark. All right, so damage path exactly 18 inches. Kind of suspecting that, and the reason why I was suspecting that is because this has so much energy, and I've noticed that the more energy you have in a round, the less and less and less and less fiberboard or a hard thing like ribs or sternum simulation affect it. So this is, in a sense, a barrier blind round just from its energy, you know, whether it's a gut shot or a chest shot. And you're not going to see a huge amount of difference. Or if you go through a piece of wire, you get this, and that is that is one tough piece of wire. That's just a piece of fencing stuff you wrap around fence. I can't believe it did that to that bullet and didn't break this or destroy it. That's impressive. Now let's hit our Juggernaut box and see how these all compare. All right, Juggernaut box with our 40 Smith & Wesson. Let's see what this does. Wow. Yeah, just massive amount of damage through that. All right, so I'm just going to show this up close. We're impacted, we're exited. Of course, it's going to be the same as what it was through this test. So our first jug has a lot of damage, just a massive amount of damage. Jug 2, looks like it's drifting down just a little bit. Jug 3, our bullet is in jug 3. We dented out the back, we didn't crack out the back, so let's see what we got here. Yeah, what we got is really good expansion. This is pretty ideal, except we got jacket separation, but it didn't really seem to make much difference. Let's try the 357. All right, 357 Magnum. I don't want to do this. This is going to splash, but let's see what we get. I'm going to say there's more damage with that than the 40. Alright, so of course we're going to see the same thing that we saw before. It's exactly going to be the same thing that we saw with our gel and MDF. And the first jug definitely took on a lot more damage than that 40. This is just absolutely shredded. The 40 had a same size hole, but it was not shredded. That's shredded. And same thing, we got a little bit of shredding going on with jug 2. Jug 3, I'd still consider that shredding. Actually did not impact right here, but actually blew a hole right through. Jug 4, we went clean through 4 actually. Here is 5. There's a dent out 5, so we have 2 full extra jugs with the 357 mag. Smaller expansion, but no jacket separation. So I'm going to say both these are pretty impressive. As far as our water goes, that's more than ideal, but our gel says it's not. However, a lot of people will say that the clear ballistic is a little bit harder than real gel. So just kind of get an overall feel of this. A little more penetration than what you might want with this, but with the 40, no. So let's shoot from a distance and see how these two compare to each other. All right, there's my steel target, and I came back from 75 yards, and the reason why is when I start getting into rounds like this, they're this powerful, I start to think more of like an overall good round, what you can use it for, like a utilitarian round. And I start thinking about hunting. You know, and at 75 yards, personal opinion here, I think that you could probably take a deer anywhere in North America if you could hit a very centered shot on that silhouette out there at 75 yards. So that's why I came back at 75 yards. Plus, I really like the challenge. So first up, 40 Smith & Wesson. Just going to aim dead center and see where these hit. This gun was shooting kind of left for me. With other ammo, but let's see how it shoots for me at 75 yards with 40. Another malfunction issue, and these things are hitting really, really low. I had to aim over the target to hit. And left. So I aimed over top of the right shoulder, and that round is just not ideal for me. Let's try the 357 mag, see how I can do with this double action. If I was hunting, I might shoot single action, so I'll probably try a few of those, but let's start with double action. I have no idea where those are hitting. That is really weird because this gun is, you know, I love this gun. This gun shoots the best for me. But this ammo, I was having a hard time, you know, seeing where they're hitting. I was aiming right on it like I normally do, and I'm just having a little bit of an issue here. I don't think it's just me today, because I don't feel that bad. I feel like I can shoot pretty good, so let me try some more. I know that's one of my most disappointing long-range shoots, but it just wasn't hitting point of aim and point of impact in my particular firearms. So that's not to say it wouldn't shoot point of aim and point of impact in your particular firearms, but this is kind of my own personal test when I do this stuff, you know. Not like sponsored by people, you know. I go out and I buy this stuff, except, you know, when people help me out, like on Patreon. So I like to see what it'll do for me, and that's what it'll do for me. I'm not particularly great at long distance. Our ballistic performance, we'll kind of run over this real quick. Our ballistic performance had a little bit too much penetration with the 357 mag, but spot on with the 40. The 40 was soft shooting. So overall, I'm going to say this 357 mag is probably going to be better suited for an even heavier and larger gun than this particular gun. However, the 6.86, you know, ran it just fine, just not really ideally, as where the 40 did pretty well. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.